Hey guys, I'm Dimension Jumper and today I'll be doing my top 10 favorite video games. Now, one of the earliest videos that I've done for this channel was my top 5 favorite video games, and I thought, why not make a sort of like new video on that? But instead of making it about 5 games, I'm going to be talking about my 10 favorite games, and this is mainly due to because I think when it comes to like the games I've played, my 10 favorite ones are that I liked a lot. And when it comes to um, replayability, the amount of stuff you can do in the game, that sort of stuff, and maybe some of the bosses, that sort of thing. And yeah, and today's video, I'll just be going over my 10 favorite games that I really like to play. So for number 10 is Super Mario Galaxy 1. Now, this is one of the earliest games that I remember playing, and this is, I think one of the reasons I do like this game is because this is my Mario 64, in the sense that, when Mario 64 came out, it was revolutionary because it was like one of the earliest video games to become 3D, and you could do all that cool stuff like going to different paintings, doing all the different missions, stuff like that. Whereas with Mario Galaxy, that kind of felt like the thing to me. Like, oh, you could go to all these cool looking galaxies and collect all these different stars and fight Bowser and stuff like that. And I do like how each of the galaxies are used and how each of them feel vastly different from the other. Apart from that one galaxy towards the end, or well, in the I think it's either in the garden dome or in the engine room dome, where it's basically just a copy paste from Honey Hive, but it's mirrored. It's got autumn leaves, and it's just got a different name. And yeah, I think even though that one galaxy is a copy paste, it still feels uniquely different. And I do enjoy all the different stars you can collect. Like, there's one that's basically just in a galaxy that's full of different sweets and chocolate and stuff like that. And the level is called the Rocky Road Galaxy. No, it's called Sweetie Galaxy. The level is called Rocky Road, or something like that. And yeah, and you've got like all the use of the not weapons, the items, like the bee mushroom, the boo mushroom, the spring mushroom. Even though that isn't the best power up, it's still uniquely cool and still a uniquely interesting power up to use in the game. And yeah, I just think overall it's just a very fun game to experience everything in it. And I do like how once you've collected 120 stars, you can replay the game again, but as Luigi. And I think that's a quite cool feature to add into the game. So yeah. For number 9 is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Now, with Smash Bros. Ultimate, I feel like this is probably the best Smash Bros. Game in the series, because it has literally every single character from every single game. And yeah, that's so cool because in the previous games before Smash Ultimate, you would have like some recurring characters like Mario, Link, Samus, and a few others. But then you'll have some that might have appeared in one game or two games, but not appeared in a future one. But with Smash Ultimate, I do like how even if they might have appeared in one or two games, they still make a reappearance in Smash Ultimate, and I think that's really cool. And I do like the new characters that we get to see in Smash Ultimate, like Incineroar, Simon and Victor, even a Piranha Plant makes it into the game. And then you've got the DLC characters like Joker, Sephiroth, Steve from Minecraft in the game. A character that I remember seeing like being modded into like previous games, or I think mainly Smash Bros. For the Wii or something like that. But now Steve's in the game, and that's so cool. We can see all these different characters just fighting each other, and that's so cool and stuff like that. So yeah, for number 8 is Fairy Tail. Now, this game is an adaptation of the manga and anime, and this mainly takes place around the ending of the Tenru Island arc, where Agnologia attacks the members of Fairy Tail that's on the island at that particular moment, and then it goes from there up until towards the final season, but it doesn't adapt to the final season. It only does it does the events before it. So yeah, and that's why in Fairy Tail 2, which is coming out, I think, towards the end of this year, that game is going to be mainly adapting the final season, but not the 100-year arc one. So yeah, I think, and I do like how with Fairy Tail it has its own like um RPG elements to it. So it's because it's kind of like Pokemon in a sort of sense, in that you've got all these different characters with all of their own unique moves and stuff like that, and their own resistance and weaknesses, and that's really cool. And it can just mix and match your team and your party members. Be like, okay, I want Natsu, Gray, Wendy, or Gargiel, Urza, and Loxus, and you can have all these different characters being on one team, and it's so just cool to see, like, you can use like different elements and stuff, and you can use like a character that might have a debuff or buffs for their attacks, a character that can switch out the weaknesses and stuff like that. And yeah, I think it's such a cool thing to see in the game, and I think it's just a really fun adaptation of both the manga and the anime. So yeah. For number 7 is Skyrim. Now, this game is the first Elder Scrolls game that I played when it came to the Switch. I think it's the only Elder Scrolls game on the Switch in terms of the mainline Elder Scrolls games, and I've had a really lot of fun playing this game because it's very different to a lot of the other fantasy games that I've played, because with games like the Legend of Zelda series, that has its own sort of fantasy element to it, where like, fight Ganon or whoever is the main villain of the week for that particular game. But with Skyrim, it's basically this huge world where you can basically do whatever you want, whether it's fighting dragons or becoming a member of the Companions or the Thieves Guild or the Dark Brotherhood or whatever suits your playstyle. And I think it's just a really cool way of exploring the world, and I do like how you can interact with all these different people and stuff like that. And you can go to all these different towns and cities, and they all have their own bits of lore and stuff like that. Like with Whiterun, you've got the Companion Hall, which is said to be older than the whole of Whiterun itself. And then you've got the whole civil war with the Stormcloaks and the Imperials and stuff like that. So even when you do start up the game for the first time, you do have that bit of lore sewn into it. Like, we're captured because we were seen trying to escape or something like that. But the Imperials thought we were part of the part of the rebels and stuff like that, and part of the Stormcloaks. So yeah, even though you've got all this bits of lore, you can still hear about other stuff throughout the course of the adventure and stuff like that. So like, when you hear, for example, in Helgen, once you escape it, you'll hear, there was a dragon that attacked Helgen. Everyone a lot of people perished there and stuff like that. And then once you become like the top leader of a particular faction or a guild, the guards will say, you're the mage, or you're the high mage of Winterhold or something like that. And I think that's really cool, and it adds more to your character. Like, you can be the top mage of Winterhold. You're now the leader of the Companions and stuff like that. And I do like how, for one final point, how with the different skill trees, that can help you determine what kind of player you want to be. Like, are you a person that just goes for swords or magic, or just wants to sneak about like a ninja or an assassin or stuff like that? So yeah, I think overall Skyrim is a very fun game, and I do like how everything works within the context of the world. So yeah, for number 6 is Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition. Now, this game is a Dynasty Warriors collaboration with the Zelda series, and I do like how it keeps the Zelda formula in a sort of sense, because it's basically just, it feels like a Zelda game, but it's a spin-off. And I do like how you can play with all these different characters. So you've got Link, Zelda, Impa, Sheik. Then you've got other characters like Lana and Sia, who are new characters. And I think the story is a very good story. And I do like how with the Definitive Edition, it combines both the Wii U version and the 3DS version into one. So with that, it's basically you've got this main story of the Wii U version, that being, oh, you have to fight Sia, but then later you have to fight Ganondorf. And then you've also got Linkle's story, which is from the 3DS version. And I think Linkle is a good addition to the story and to the game. And I do like how her battling style is cool and unique, because you've got her crossbows and her winged boots. And I think that's like probably two of the best weapons in the game. And I do like how you can like just basically just play with any of your favorite characters from some of the games, because you've got like Darunia, you've got Fi, you've got Minda, you've got Ravio and other characters from the various Zelda games. And I think it's just a very cool game, and I do like playing the game every time whenever I get the chance to play it. So yeah, I think it's a very cool, fun game. For number 5 is Breath of the Wild. Now, with this game, I do enjoy how it kind of basically broke the Zelda formula, in that it's a huge open world and you can do whatever you want in any order. So, for example, after you've been in the main tutorial, in itself, I think you can, like, even though it's kind of, I think, streamlined in how you try and do them, I still like how you can try and do some stuff in any order. Like, for example, after I've done the second shrine, that's near where the Decayed Guardian is, in the ruins, near, I think, a Bokoblin camp, I go and collect some stuff like spicy peppers, stamina mushrooms, so that I can make my variety of different meals to help me with the cold and the cliff. That's where the stasis shrine is. And yeah, and I do like how once you've done the main tutorial, you can go in whichever direction you want. So you can go to, like, you can basically go and do every single shrine, or you could just do all of the different dungeons in whichever order you want. Or, if you want to, you can basically just go to the very final boss and fight him, and there's pretty much nothing stopping you from, once you've beaten the main tutorial, from there until from Hyrule Castle, basically from the Great Plateau to Hyrule Castle, and there's basically nothing stopping you from going there and fighting the final boss, apart from like maybe a couple of guardians. But if you're careful enough, you should be able to get past them and get to the final boss room. And yeah, I think it's a very enjoyable game, and I do like how it's fun. And it's also one of the few games that I've played where you can actually go and fight the final boss. The only other games that I can think of that can let you do that is Tears of the Kingdom, the sequel to Breath of the Wild, and it does. But I feel like with Tears of the Kingdom, if you do want to go fight the final boss after you've done the main tutorial, it does take a bit of time to get to it. Whereas with Breath of the Wild, you can pretty much go to the final boss the second you've beaten the main tutorial, because you'll be given the paraglider, and the paraglider is a very useful thing, and you do get the paraglider in Tears of the Kingdom. It just takes a bit longer to get it. So yeah, But overall, I do enjoy Breath of the Wild, and I do like how it's just a very fun game to play through and stuff like that. So yeah, for number 4 is the first Insomniac Spider-Man game. Now, I do really enjoy this game, and it was one of the first PS4 games that I remember playing. And what I like about this game is how it tells its story and when it's set, because with a lot of the Spider-Man media we've had, a lot of it is just his origin, he fights a villain, and then we get 2 other movies. And with the first Insomniac Spider-Man game, this takes place a few years after that origin. And I think that's such a cool and interesting way to take it, because you don't want to see another scene of the whole "with great power comes great responsibility" speech and stuff like that, and Uncle Ben, and Uncle Ben's death and stuff like that. So I feel like with this taking place a few years after that initial origin, I think is a cool way to see it, and to see where this version of Peter Parker is at. And I think the story is interesting. I think a really clever one as well, because a lot of the story focuses on Mr. Negative, and I thought, oh, is he going to be the main villain? But then as soon as he was arrested and sent to the raft, I was like, okay, who's going to be the main villain now, since Mr. Negative has been arrested? But then around the midpoint, when the Sinister Six appear and you see Dr. Octopus appearing, it's like, oh, it's going to be that kind of game. Oh, it's done the old switcheroo route. And I think when it comes to characters like Mr. Negative, Dr. Octopus, even Peter himself, a lot of the characters have very good and interesting storylines, because I do like how with Dr. Octopus, he starts off just trying to make new prosthetics for people who might have lost an arm or a leg or something like that. And throughout the course of the game, he starts to become more villainous because of the whole neural link chip that's attached to his head. And he becomes more like Dr. Octopus, and he's got the whole arms and stuff. And I do like how at the end, Peter Parker, as Spider-Man, has to create a new suit in order to fight Dr. Octopus, because it's that thing, it's the trope of, oh, the only thing that can destroy something is itself. So like, if you've seen The Incredibles, the whole Omnidroid thing, that it's like the only thing that can destroy the Omnidroid is itself and stuff like that. So I do like how with Peter, he has a suit that can at least keep up with Dr. Octopus's arms. And I do like how in, I think the post-credit scene, you get to see Venom. Like, you get to see like, Harry in this sort of weird tank thing with Venom just all over his body and stuff like that. And yeah, and I think it does lead well into the second game, as well as the Miles Morales game quite well, because it does not only just set up Spider-Man 2, but also set up Spider-Man Miles Morales. And I think it does a good job of juggling all of these different things, like the setups for future games, as well as in the game itself, like all the different bases and stuff like that. And I do really like all the different suits in this game. Like, you've got the new box art suit, but you've also got the first mission suit, that version of the suit, or the first mission suit, but ripped in parts of the suit. You've also got some of the movie suits, like the Raimi suit, the first Amazing Spider-Man suit, and even the MCU suits and stuff like that. And then you've got the variety of the different comic suits and stuff like that. So overall, the first Insomniac Spider-Man game is just a lot of fun to play through. So yeah, for number 3 is God of War 2018. Now, this is a soft reboot of the series, and it takes place thousands or so years after God of War 3, because this takes place in Norse mythology, and there isn't really a whole lot of knowledge, or we don't really know how long it's been since Kratos, what has been since God of War 3, but I think it's roughly thousands or so years after the events of God of War 3, maybe. And what I like about this game is that it when it comes to the storytelling, similar to the first Insomniac Spider-Man game, I do like how it sets up stuff like Ragnarok and how it does a sort of misdirection in that at the start of the game, you have Baldur saying, "Oh, I thought you'd be bigger. I thought you'd be smarter than us." And you're thinking, does Baldur know about Kratos' past? Does he know that he's Greek and he's killed the entire Greek pantheon? But no, at the end, you have that surprise twist, like, oh, Baldur thought Kratos was a giant, but no, but his wife, Kratos' wife, was the actual giant, but she died, she passed away. And yeah, I think that's such an interesting sort of bait and switch. And I do like how how the game does acknowledge Kratos' past. Like you got at the halfway point, you have the Blades of Chaos scene as well as Athena, and you've got some characters like Freya and Mimir saying, "Oh, I know that you're a god from Greece. I know you're not from these lands," and stuff like that. And yeah, it's just a nice sort of way of having new fans like myself getting to know Kratos. Like, oh, he's not from these lands. He basically killed all of the Greek gods on his own, and he doesn't really want to go back to that part of his life. And I do like how he characterizes himself. Like, okay, I don't want to be the person my son sees in me, and I don't want him to become like me when I was trying to kill all the Greek gods in Greece and stuff like that. So yeah, and I do like how both Kratos and Atreus sort of learn from each other, and you can see this in both the game and the God of War 2018 documentary. How, because I think there's a quote from Corey Barlog that I'll paraphrase, saying that in which he says that that both Kratos and Atreus learn from each other. Like with Kratos, he learns to be human, and Atreus learns to be a god. And I do like how they both balance each other out in the game. And I do like how at the very end of the game, where they're fighting Baldur for the final time, they just combine their moves and their powers and stuff like that. So like with Kratos, he uses like his Spartan Rage. He then throws Atreus to do like combo arrows to Kratos, not to Kratos, to Baldur, and it's such a cool game. And I think it does has a nice way of setting up Ragnarok, and I do like that the whole scene at the end with Thor and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's a really cool, fun game, and I think it's a good soft reboot to the series as a whole. So yeah. For number 2 is Persona 5 Royal. Now this is with Persona 5 Royal, I have enjoyed it. I think it's a really good game, and this from the perspective of me of playing 5 first and then Royal. So I guess I could kind of combine them together into one, because with Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal, I think it's a very good RPG, and it's a very different one to the ones I've played in the past, like mainly the Pokemon series, because with Pokemon, it's just you pick a Pokemon, you go and fight a particular team who wants to use the power of the legendary Pokemon for their own evil deeds and stuff like that. But with Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal, it's just you're a transfer student and you have to fight these otherworldly demons called shadows, and you have your own persona, and for the main character, they can use multiple personas, and that's something cool and something I hadn't really seen in a game up until that point, and it's so cool. And I do like how it has like its own like plot points and other story elements. Like you've got like the main plot, like you have to try and change the heart of these rotten adults who are using their power to their own ends and stuff like that. And I do like how with each calling card it gets better and better and better, until with Shido's Palace, when you have to do the calling card for that one, it is basically this big huge announcement throughout all of Japan, and that's such a cool cutscene. And I feel like with the bosses, they have their own different ways of fighting them, even though it's the same thing, just drain their health bar until they're defeated. But I do like how each one is uniquely different. So you've got Sty's Palace, where it's basically just, with her boss fight, it's basically just on one massive roulette wheel. Then you've got the very first boss, Shido, no, not Shido, Kamoshida, where it's basically just him. He's basically got a giant weird goat form thing, and he's basically using the different students, basically using the students as slaves. Like, okay, I'm gonna use this ultimate spike volleyball attack now. That's a huge, devastating move. And then you've got one final one. You've got Shido, for example, as well. Where with this one, he starts off with this lion thing, which then becomes a pyramid and then a tank, I think. And yeah, and that's a really cool fight. And then you get to fight him like with those restraint weights on. And then finally, for the final phase, it's a one-on-one with you against Shido, and that's such a cool part of the fight. And I feel like overall, Persona 5 as well as Persona 5 Royal is such a cool game to experience. And I think, and if Persona 5 as well as Royal is so cool, how is Persona 6 going to top that in terms of spectacle and stuff like that? So yeah, for number 1 is Skyward Sword. Now, this is probably my favourite game of all time, because this was, if you've seen my review for Skyward Sword, probably for the Wii version as well as the HD version, this is the Zelda game that cemented my love for the series as a whole, and probably video games as a whole as well, because I just love how all of the things that you can do in the game, like you've got like Skyloft and a whole variety of skylands that you can visit. You've got the different provinces you can visit, that being Farron Woods, Eldon Volcano, and Lenero Desert. And I do like how each area has its own habitats and stuff like that, and its own ways of traversal. Each area, for example, in the Lenero Desert, there are parts where you can use the time shift stones to try and get from one place to the other. And then in places like Eldon Volcano, for example, as well, there are some areas where you can use like an updraft to get from one part to the next and stuff like that. And yeah, I think Skyward Sword as a whole, I just really enjoyed it, and I do like how it has some of my favorite moments in the game, like the whole of the Sacred Flame parts of the game. That's probably my favorite part of the game, because you're basically the one creating the Master Sword, this legendary blade seen throughout pretty much almost every single Zelda game. And you're basically the one that helped forge it and helped create it and stuff like that. So yeah, and I do like how you get to see all these different characters, and some of them have their own character arcs. The most notable being Bruce, because he starts the game off as being like the neighborhood bully, and stuff like that. And then throughout the course of the game, the more time you see him, he becomes more of a hero in his own way, because he helps Link fight the imprisoned during rounds 2 and 3. And then at the very end of the game, he's the one that saves Zelda from crashing into the floor once Demise has basically just made this sort of like tornado attack sort of thing with his sword that flings Zelda like 100 feet into the air, stuff like that. So yeah, I do like how Bruce has his own character moment in that. So yeah, and also you've got personally my favourite Zelda companion, that being Fi, and I do like how she started off the game being this mysterious character, and then at the very end, she seems to me, in my opinion, more human than robot, because she is more of like this sort of like spirit robot thing companion that you have throughout the whole of the game. But at the very end, she to me feels more human, and you can kind of hear that in the music, because when you first meet Fi, or when you see Fi in the Night Academy, you have this her theme or follows theme music has a wind instrument, and that to me feels like robotic and mysterious because you don't really know who this person is. You've only seen Fi in a few dreams, but then at the very end, with Fi's farewell and Fi's gratitude, you get to hear like stuff like pianos and stuff, and that to me feels more human. And in that moment, I feel like Fi has learned what it means to be a human and stuff like that. So yeah, and overall, Skyward Sword has a lot of cool mini games. I do enjoy the whole Goddess Cube hunt, that sort of thing, and the dungeons are probably some of my favorites. I do enjoy some of the dungeons in the game, like the Ancient Cistern and the Sand Ship. Those are probably some of my favorite dungeons in the game. And overall, it's just a very fun game, and it's probably my all-time, not only my all-time favorite Zelda game, but also my all-time favorite video game of all time. So yeah, so that's been my top 10 favorite video games. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and see you in the next video.